Hello and welcome to another exciting episode. Actually, this is a very special episode of the Terry McGriff Show. We're going to what we do our bowl preview special and our end of college season preview season special. Excuse me for that tongue twist there. We got to my right my illustrious co-host Andre L. Sullivan and our very, very special guest, he's getting to be a regular now, our All-American Nick Schrage. So guys, we want you to tune in, enjoy the show. We're going to have a lot of good stuff for you today. But before you do that, if you like what we're doing, please hit that like button. And if you please subscribe to our channel so you can bring you more amazing content that we're bringing you right now. So guys, we got a good show today. We're going to do college bowl previews. We're going to do some college playoff talk. And we're going to talk, definitely, we're here for the Army-Navy week, guys. Army-Navy. This is the Army-Navy game. This is one of our great Army veterans. Right, well, I ain't gonna say better because you're acting duty right now. They're acting duty right now. I'm a Navy veteran. He's our college professor. So we're gonna get started on our show. What we're gonna talk about today, like I said, college football playoffs. We're gonna get into that. Have a good text about that. We're gonna get into the bowl previews. We're gonna get into the Army, and we're gonna finish our show off with talking about Army-Navy, all things Army-Navy. You guys, I just can't wait to see some of the insight that he's going to tell us, some of the great traditions and some of the things that we know about the Army-Navy game. So guys, tune into that game this week. It's going to be a special place this year. It's going to be in the Meadowlands, and it's going to commemorate the 20th anniversary? 20th anniversary of 9/11. So guys, tune in. This is going to be very, very good for you guys to enjoy this show. So let's get started, fellas. Let's talk some college playoffs. Now, last week was amazing. I mean, we thought we saw some great games. Georgia getting beat by Alabama. Obviously, Michigan State punching their ticket. The crazy ending of the Oklahoma State Baylor game. And who else was the? I didn't really watch too much of it because it kind of blew up the Utah and the Washington Bowl game. It was a lot of good football being played. Who did we miss out? We missed out on the ACC championship. Correct. Congratulations to the Pittsburgh Panthers who won the ACC conference, the championship of their conference.
You got the biggest team out there right now. It's Cincinnati.
Oh, I was trying to see if anybody's listening.
No, I think the best team across the board right now is the league, right? They're in there. I think that everyone talks about, hey, this is the team that's going to get blown out. But then you look at the team that's been blown out year by year. You got Clemson, Ohio State. You got Michigan State and what Notre Dame. So it's like it's any given Saturday, right?
You're right. So congratulations to the AAC champion, University of Cincinnati Bearcats, Coach Luke Fickell, all those guys over there.
Coach of the year.
Coach of the year, excuse me, Coach of the year, Luke Fickell. Hey, I've been saying that the little guy, the reason I've been talking about them is because they're a small school in a small conference, and a lot of those guys with this. At the end of the day, still talking about bowl games and still talking about heads and beds. We're not talking about some of these folks are not football people. So they're looking at, hey, what kind of economic impact are you going to bring to our city? So it doesn't matter now they made it. They broke the glass.
Yeah, the last team they lost to was Georgia last year.
Yep. That's going to be, wouldn't that be something if Georgia plays Cincinnati this year for the national championship?
Yes, I'm looking at a lot of these teams going down, playoff, right, 1 through 4. I think that Cincinnati is in. Not split hairs here. They're good. Right? I think Michigan has every right to be in. I think the losses they had, a lot of head scratching there. Everyone's had losses here. Georgia lost to Alabama team that was visibly better prepared. Right? Hats off to Nick Saban, his crew. Kirby Smart still is not taking that much jobs back. And then Georgia, they've seen that. Looks like that their best win, if you want to talk about it, was Kentucky. I mean, if you want to come back to it, who have they beat? Right?
That was my point last week when everybody that I never thought I was crazy when I predicted Alabama to win that game. I'm like, the East was probably the worst year for the SEC East because I think every team in the East except for Georgia at the time had at least 3 losses.
Yeah.
Florida was way down. Their best game was a loss to Alabama. That was their best. You want to say victory? That was their best player played game. Kentucky. They beat Florida, but they kind of caught Florida on the high. Florida was kind of looking them, in my opinion. And the team they won that game, they that seemed like Kentucky's pushing them up, and then they came off that. They lost the games. Tennessee, they started out strong, they picked it up at and the rest of the schools, wasn't really anything to go. Missouri, Florida, when they basically limping through the rest of the season.
Florida's bottom now, and we've seen this. I think with Bonavier coming in is going to be really good for that program. I see just a transition phase, right? And that's a lot of the programs, right? You talk about Oklahoma, that's a story in itself, right? And what happened with their coaching staff, the sudden departure of Arizona to USC, and a lot of these coaching hires, hot seats. You got Brian Kelly running off to LSU, right? So right now there's a lot to talk about. Mario Cristobal going over to Miami, right? With the Miami coach that was still there while they were doing that in process. College football is doing its best right now.
It's really, really, really something, man. What you think, man?
And we're forgetting about the thing while we're here. 4 teams got selected for the playoffs. And I think the low-hanging fruit that everyone was missing here is that a bunch of old men sat in a room and told us that football matters for the first time in these playoffs. I think we're understating how much it means to the football player and the coach and the fan of having Cincinnati be selected for this playoffs. That it is so underrated because what it does is set a precedent saying that if you get it done on the field, you'll get a chance to play. And that right there meant so much to me because as we were watching that selection show, we were all a little bird like, they're just going to stick with Cincinnati. Yeah, we know it's coming.
We saw it happen with the first one with TCU and Ohio State.
We saw it coming and we were like, wait, they did it. And that right there spoke volumes to the sport itself. And it opened doors for so much more because with Cincinnati being there, Ohio State didn't get in. That means Notre Dame didn't get in.
Didn't have a conference to win.
Exactly. And so we set a precedent saying we have to play. And we keep forgetting what Herm Edwards said.
Play the game.
You play to win the game. If you don't even have a game to play to win, you don't get in. And so the college selection committee, these playoff selection committee did something for future teams, for future coaches, for future programs, saying that, hey, win your conference, win your games, we'll give you a chance to hold the trophy.
What do you know then?
But I got a question for
There's
you.
a McDonald's near Notre Dame that they can watch the game. It has great service.
Well, they'll be playing that one of the New Year's Bowl games.
It's not the same as college football. You know how many bowls there are right now? We can talk about the bowl season down there. They got better. Nothing against a Duke's Mayo Bowl, right? Or any of those, but at some point you're getting the Lockheed Martin on horse bowl is a good bowl, and then you're starting to go all the way down, right? And one day you're gonna get like a good pop bowl.
We got the kumquat bowl
And at that point it's just
blue onion. Well, they do have
how about I say you're not supposed to do that.
I love blue onion.
Okay, there's a good name.
But the question is, with this saying about talking about this playoffs, did they get it right or did they get it right by default? And the reason I'm going to ask in this question is, does Cincinnati make it if there was a extra half inch that the running back from Oklahoma State and gets in the end zone? Do they make it through, or do they get overlooked and jumped by Oklahoma State into the playoffs?
Cincinnati has a loss around. Just because of the high standards that they have in this team, right? Because of this notion of Power 5 unified. I want to talk about, like, let's say this Power 5 that we have. Walk me through the SEC and who out there is actually competitive. Oh, they're a Power 5 team. What's that mean? Right? We've watched, is it an upset when the team gets beat out of, like, when Vandy loses? Vandy's trash. South Carolina hasn't known its water. Right? Tennessee hasn't been good since God knows when. Right, you can transition to the Big Ten. Nebraska is they're surprising, but what makes these teams Power 5 teams? Is it the top 5 total teams overall? Right? What are we seeing? And what makes Cincinnati so much less? Because of history and tradition? Well, there's an old saying, there's no coach told me. Well, what have you done for me lately? Right? Volunteers used to be so great as a program, right? Florida State, a couple years back, they were just dominant. Well, they're not now. It's dominating football games now, winning games, like you said, winning matters, right? Right now it's Cincinnati, and they're doing it very well.
What's your rebuttal to that?
Let's also talk about this, though. And Nick brought up a great point. What's the Power Five conference? And of course, there's always the downside that we look at these things when we talk about college football. Of course, there's the new NIL that we always bring up in our shows. Let's also look at this. On December 31st, 4 teams play. And to finish out that day, Cincinnati's going to play Alabama. Cincinnati's stadium, by the way, holds an average of 60,000. And Alabama, Hills Top Stadium, because it's an SEC school, holds an average of 9. Is Cincinnati going to be able to bust down 60,000? I gratefully doubt that. Can Alabama bust down 9,000 if they want to? Absolutely will. That won't hurt them at all. And so to this point, we always bring it up. What's the Power Five conference? And if we just put it on the field, at the end of the day, everybody's just going to. But I think there's a bigger line that we have to look over, and a bigger fence that we have to see the game through. Because Cincinnati is on the bubble, if you will, in this playoff because of that state. And because of, teams like TCU, who plays in a very nice conference.
They're in the Big 12.
Big 12 doesn't produce great football on a year-in, year-out basis. But we can also make that statement for the SEC. And we can make that statement for the ACC. Because right now in the ACC, who won? You just named them. Who won their conference?
Pittsburgh.
When was the last time a team played Florida State or Clemson?
This is the first time in probably 20 years.
Georgia Tech.
Or Georgia Tech?
No, they didn't. They haven't won it.
They won. They played. No,
Georgia Tech didn't win.
No, it's either been Florida State or Clemson. That's the sad part about it. They've been most of these Power Five conferences. We have to say they are top-down conferences. They are, you're going to have your top 2 to 3 teams, and everybody else could be. Depends on who they are, and the year they type of have. Take your point. The SEC, for the average, it's going to be Florida, Georgia, Alabama, LSU, somewhere in that, Tennessee here, there, somewhere in that round. One of those guys are going to be your big fish dominant one of every year. When you look at the playoffs, since they're going, there's always been an SEC team in the playoff. There's usually been an SEC playing for the national title. I don't think there's been a game where there has not been an SEC team playing for the national title.
Let's talk about what it is.
Except for when Oregon beat Boston.
Let's talk about what it is. It's not an SEC team, like there's options. It's the SEC team, right? It's Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like, the SEC is a conference, right? No one chants SEC during the game, right? It's roll tide, roll or go dogs, right? And in the day of LSU, right? It was a nice little Cinderella story.
Good Tigers.
Yeah, that's all well and good. Jimbo Fisher's, flopping around well in Texas A&M. But let's not parade around saying like, hey, all of these teams are great. How's Illinois doing? Right? How are they doing in the Big Ten?
Well, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah,
It's a top-down example. For until this year, the king of the mountain in the Big Ten was Ohio State. Everybody knew we had to get through Ohio State, and then maybe. But until Michigan broke through this year, and then once again, traditionally, before that, those have been the 2 big teams. I think that's their biggest game every year. Ohio State, Michigan.
Well,
Penn State is.
They gave that contract.
They've been riding on their name for decades now. They really haven't threatened the national title and been one of the top 5 teams for the long haul in a while now. They're relevant, but they're not influential as far as what I would say. You got to look out for them on a yearly basis to be in the running for the national title. It's been like everybody's been saying the same old team. Your Clemson, your Florida's. Your Clemson, your Alabama.
So you got State. Out 5 with 4 slots, 2 of them for the SEC.
Yeah.
So what is this championship?
Well, the championship is let's break it down. Why do we have the playoffs? Because everybody complained
About BCS.
BCS. You only had 2 teams, and then there was more than one team deserving. Am I correct?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So what they gave us was this playoff. I'll use the quotes in my hand, playoffs, so that you can have more than 2 teams. And so you have, I look at it, you have the 2 best teams plus 2. So they gave you more than one other team. They gave you 2 best teams plus 2. And they go play it out, and then you play an extra game at the end of the season to see who would be the national title. Everybody knows about the rumors about expanding all this. But what does that mean? And then you got to understand, guys, there's a thing of economics to this. Who's getting what? How much money is going to be split where? What bowl game? The bowl game is going to have a lot to say with this because they're actually going to be the venues where these so-called playoff games are played at right now. I don't even know where's the national championship being played. Indianapolis. So what bowl games in Indianapolis? See, this is the first time I can.
I mean, it's not the Rose Bowl or the Sugar Bowl.
No, that's no, the California Rose
Yeah,
Bowl.
yeah.
Right. So we're talking about the national championship.
Yeah,
where you played.
You play the championship.
This year's Cotton Bowl for the Rose Bowl. But yeah, the national championship is always an outside.
Okay. Oh, so it's not been back to one of those things.
No.
Okay. So this is the first time I can ever remember, and I think that's Indianapolis where they played the Big Ten championship. So that would be something else if Michigan made it back, because they played back to this where they won their conference championship, play for the national championship. So would that be an advantage for Michigan to play in that venue again if they won and then they got to play Alabama, Cincinnati? With that being said, we're going to talk about how much more time do you think we'll have the college playoff at this level? Do you think it's going to be at 2025, or do you think they're going to push it back?
Well, I'm going to go ahead and say a breaking statement that I'm probably in the minority of saying I don't want them to expand the college playoffs. And here's why, because first of all, let's acknowledge the truth about us as humans. We're going to complain. and we're going to find new things to complain about. I.e., when we have the BCS championship, it's not the quote-unquote best 2 teams in the country. In the last BCS championship was Florida State versus Auburn. I think we can clearly say that at the time, the James Smith-led team was the best team in the country at that time. And that's not me being biased as a Florida State fan, but that's just name dropping. That's the bias part. But the point that I'm making is at the time, that was the best 2 teams. Then it was this playoff. The first time we had it was Alabama, Florida State, Oregon, and another team, Ohio State. So at the time, we could say that that's the best 4 teams out of the Power 5. But that's just it. There's 4 teams out of the Power 5. And at that time, that was when UCF was on the table all over the Mid-American Conference. So we kept saying, let's leave UCF out of this right now. And then UCF became undefeated, still didn't get into the playoff picture, and said, okay, well, you guys didn't play anybody. And then they went boom, 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 back to back. We kept leaving someone out. Now the College Football Committee has said, you know what, an undefeated team deserves to get it. They've let them in. Now the 4 best teams are now vying for a national championship. Now, as the fan, what are we doing saying now? Well, Ohio State didn't get in.
They don't deserve it. No one else lost.
We can make that statement.
I'll say the you're the only Division 1 football is the only one that doesn't have a returning style.
Correct.
Do you want to believe you 2, 3, JUCO? If they can figure it out, why is it that we can't do it? There is no reason to not, right? Money aspect of it. Which part? You're going to have those playing in. I think that at that point, you do that 16-team playoff as like what they do in D1AA, right? You break it down, make it 12 or 8 or however you want to do it. It leaves nothing left for an argument, right? Then why even have the AP top 25? Why even do any of this to get an understanding if the college football playoff is going to take hold, right? If the pursuit is to find out who's the best team, right? Then you play in. Just look at the World Cup, right? You look at these tournament styles, that's how you do it.
You just top 4. But here's what I never want to see. I never want to see Alabama play Ohio.
What if they lose?
There's a high, that can happen. But I personally, before the game starts, before the referee goes first, before they warm up, I don't want to walk into the stadium and see Crimson Tide play the Ohio Bobcats. See, that's my point there. That's not a game that, as a sponsor, I want to help put on. As a fan, as a broadcaster.
It's a great outcome.
Comes down to the mighty dollar. And the one thing you guys are not thinking about, these venues where they're playing, these bowl games are going to want to be a part of this.
Yes.
And they're going to be clamoring. Like right now, just give you an example right now. Let's set down the college football teams and the college football players. We know them. The scramble to figure out who would get what bowl game was what was left over, because of the bowl times. We obviously know who's the Big Ten runner-up, the Pac-10 winner because that wasn't. And then, where did Ohio State gets to play? Because they're really the next best team outside of Iowa. Well, where does Iowa gets to go? And where does Pitt beat Wake Forest. Where does Wake Forest get to go? Where's the next best team? Where does Ole Miss? They won 10 games. Where do they get to go? Who's clamoring for these bowl games? And then first of all, they're looking for something close to the region. And some of these teams they want, because they want the local fan base, and then they want them to have somebody that's not nearby to play, so that they can get all the heads in the beds and the ticket sales to go up. So all these bowl committees are going to be like, hey, we want this team, we want this team. So when you're talking about now adding a playoff structure on top of it, you're going to have a problem with that, because the bowls then don't get to pick and choose kind of on that ball. It's going to be slotted, and they may not want that particular game in their city because they may not get the people to come in to visit their cities that they.
So from a business standpoint, yes, you may take a few losses, but from a football fan standpoint, you'll win. And ultimately, football is going to win. Look at this. The battle we've been waging to get a college football video game. Look what's coming back. Right? 2023, they debuted the EA Sports College Football game. And it just shows that the college football fan, it may take a second, but he is patient, he is tenacious, he's going to get what he deserves. And the bowl committees are just going to have to suck it up and be like, you know what?
Take this before you take that point. To your point, Army or Navy, if they win 10 games, they're pretty much tied to what bowl?
They used to be like, no matter what, Army's be like, hey, we're going to take y'all home. But now Army's, since the rise of Jeff Montana and the post-Colonel Red Blake era, in the best era of Army football, now it's like, hey, we're going to wait it out. We're going to see what we get, right? And then we're going to try to tie in versus X personnel. So it's usually like last we had a Birmingham Bowl tie-in, Unfortunate Bowl tie-in, the Auto Zone, what's that called? Yeah, that tie-in, right? So I would just leave it up to, hey, 10 wins, come up, you play for the best team. And I think that right now, Army's going to be playing Mizzou. And I think that Mizzou is one of the worst run defenses in America, right? And they've never been cut blocked, and they already have a rough time on offense. That's going to be
they ain't going to be over quick because they're running back runs too. Make your point, and then I'll come back to that next one.
It's both reports, actually. When I first got into broadcasting in college, my professor told me, when you guys get ready to get paid, there's two people you got to cap. Your boss, the person you sleep next to. And so that's what this version of college playoff does. And granted, everyone's not going to be happy, but we're taking care of the person who pays us. Right? We have New Year's Six bowls where the Peach Bowl is being played by Michigan State versus Pittsburgh. The Fiesta Bowl is Notre Dame versus Oklahoma State. The Rose Bowl is Ohio State versus Utah. And the Sugar Bowl is Baylor versus Ole Miss.
Stop that. Wait a minute. Ohio State's going to the Rose Bowl?
Yeah.
Why not Iowa? Who was in there? So you give me a point now?
See, that's my point. You take care of the person who pays us. Make sure the person you pay you back. Make sure the person you sleep next to.
They didn't play at the championship. They didn't play their own conference championship. The team that should.
What's the name of their character?
That's now you get what I'm saying. We'll go back to my point.
Exactly, and that's my point. Now the fans are happy because those New Year's Six Bowls all lined up to play good football. Now, granted, everyone's not going to be happy because your team or your fans team or your best friend's team not going to play.
There's 132 teams in Division I football.
Agreed.
They're not all playable.
I want to ask you this great scenario. Your alma mater, Army goes undefeated, wins the AAC.
They're an independent team. They don't have.
Okay, they're independent.
Yeah.
They're like Notre Dame, so they beat, and that's their number one. Their big wins would be beating Notre Dame. Same with Cincinnati. If they next year they go 12-0, they beat Notre Dame with one of those victories. Should they be allowed to play in the college football?
They're undefeated. I would have had the same conversation with you. UTSA won out. They're undefeated. Right? That's why I lost one ball game.
Well, if that's the case, they only lost one ball game, so why are they not looking at both six?
It's because they're calling out based on the schedule. But it's this preconceived notion of what they believe, like talent. It was hard. It's like, is it a better level of football? To an extent, Alabama's great. Alabama's top tier, like second and none football. But you know who's not great? Mizzou, right? South Carolina's not great. Oh, do you think that UTSA can compete against them? Absolutely. Like, do I think that you go to the ACC right now? Oh, I don't think that Houston. Yes, I do. Absolutely do. I think that those teams are probably because of the chance.
Right.
I think that Notre Dame, right, when they go into ACC, it's going to add more pedigree to it because of the talent. But you got to escape this notion of, hey, you're shackled to this organization in this conference. People are trying to chip off the AC, are they not?
Yeah.
Or is Conference USA?
Well, leaving the conference?
Yeah.
Well, conference USA. Well, everybody's robbing everybody.
Think about Texas, who were like, yeah, we're the best thing since sliced bread going into the SEC. Well, guess what? They got dogged by Arkansas, and Brett Venables has allowed them to do coming in. But I would give Brett Venables this as arguably one of the best defensive minds in college football. Period. It's gonna be fine, but like they need that because the SEC needs defense. If Oklahoma just showed up to Oklahoma as Lincoln Riley's, prototype, they're about to get blown out. Bottom line is, I'm not a fan of the present, conference structure. I think it takes away from a lot of good football teams. And as a person who was on a team that was considered an underdog, right, I went into Oklahoma and we took them to double overtime, right? Went into Michigan, right, and those guys took them without my senior year, the year after me. They went in, almost beat them in OT, right? Same thing for my freshman year at Penn State. This year, Wisconsin, and let's call it what it was, this back and forth brawl versus Wake. Wake was ranked 6th. Army went in at home, only lost, it was 70-56, right?
Defense second.
But it's still, it's like you're counting these teams out based off of what? If you take the name and the picture off of all the Heisman finalists, right? And you just decide on the stats, you're gonna be soft. It's like, oh well, you pick Aiden Hutchinson. Oh well, he's not quarterback. And my whole point being, it's people having an understanding that they perceive for themselves way back when. I've already decided because of what conference you're affiliated with if you're winning that. Well, we won 12 games. We won 13 games, right? We're conference champs. We beat everybody. Well, strength of schedule. Okay. So you're going to fault us for playing football undefeated. I think that the Cincinnati team needs to ball out to set a precedent. If Cincinnati shows up and doesn't keep it close, we are going back to watching Georgia play Alabama every year while Clemson just kind of shows up every so often.
To that point, that one thing, if you worded it perfectly to ask the question, here's the thing: when we talk about Cincinnati going the ball out and going about, we have to use the term if, and we have to use analogies like, well, they might be able to do this, and they might do that. We don't do that with Alabama. We don't do that with Michigan. We're not going to do that with Georgia. And so that's the conversation where in rooms that we're not a part of are having. And when you have to use terms like if, or maybe, or this team has to ball out, or this team has to play a really perfect game, Alabama never has to play a really perfect game.
Now that what happened this year, when they almost lost to Auburn,
they ended up in the college football playoffs
because of the namesake.
Right.
You talk about close games, right?
But that's my point. Cincinnati had to work overtime to get there.
And they were perfect.
Alabama does not have to do that. So guess who's coming to the television now? Alabama fans. Here's the thing, and they teach us this in broadcasting. I want to capture the majority and have the minority asking. That's what they teach us, and what that's telling us is, I'm going to bring you the majority to the TV to watch me, and the minority is going to be in the water cooler talking about this on Monday, and asking the majority. So eventually, the minority can get in and watch me.
Well, look what we're doing now. We got the majority.
Exactly, and that's what I'm saying. We're not going to make everyone happy. That's why I'm okay with this setup what we have now.
I think
It's not perfect.
I think right now, Cincinnati go in.
Yeah, and that's what they're happy. And I feel like every couple of years or so, we're going to get something like this.
If they, I can see the word. I see your point.
You see what I'm saying?
Say Cincinnati wins, doesn't quote unquote impossible in the eyes of everybody in college football. If Cincinnati wins, it changes everything.
It does.
I will say this, gentlemen, Cincinnati was 6 inches or at least 1/2 yard away from not being in this playoff. I will go to my grave believing if Oklahoma State wins that game, Cincinnati does not make the college playoff because they have, yes, but that's the point. We have to continue to use the word if. The non-Power 5 teams still have to walk that thin line of being perfect in order to be invited into the big dance. They have to be perfect. And that should not necessarily be the case if you're trying to be from a pure football perspective, because Cincinnati will be at least half the teams in any conference in college football. They're just that good. But because they are in the conference they're in, they won't get that respect, and that's just the way it is. Give me an example at the beginning of the year they may, but that will be just for the season. Give you an example. The beginning of this season, I watched the team that lost the FCS national championship game, South Dakota State. Shout out to the Jackrabbits. They went into Colorado State, and just mollywopped them, for lack of a better phrase. It was not even close. They beat them up and down the field, and no one batted a whimper at it. But that was an FCS school, and that's happened before, but it was not. It usually was the point where an FCS school barely gets by the bigger school. This was not. This was like a total football of who's the better team. So there are teams, to your point, like Cincinnati, that are at smaller divisions or at smaller conferences, are just tremendously better than bigger schools. So everybody's point is taken correctly, but depending on, once again, it all comes down to economics. What was your conference do economically? What bowls? How many heads you're going to put in beds? All those things factor into who they think they want to invite. How many eyeballs?
We'll see you tomorrow playing Bearcat Red, down in the hat, and watching that college football play when it comes on. I'll be a proud Cincinnati fan. Okay. Army football faithful, but I'm out here, praising the guys who are out there battling. Because you got to think, those guys went through so much adversity. Every single Stephen A. Smith.
I don't think they had to go to university where they were people. They went to.
I mean, you got to think, players hear a lot. Social media is instant, right? And we even got us talking about it. Yeah. So they went through a lot. Hats off to the coaching staff for maintaining that focus week in, week out, and winning the next one. You know what? They have a job right now. They're not satisfied. You think about when Kobe was 2-0 in the final. What did he say? Why should we be happy about it? Why are they going to be happy about it? This was an expectation. High expectations don't survive low standards. Cincinnati's high expectations. They have won. They are not done. They still have a job to do. That's a college football take. I'll say this. I'll say Cincinnati wins. I think Georgia.
Who's gonna be? You jumped the gun. You jumped the gun. You jumped the gun. We're gonna get into that. You jumped the gun. All right. You got anything to say before we jump into this?
No, not at all. It was too funny. I think, here's the thing.
Think you don't hit.
If Cincinnati wins, they'll get interested. But if Alabama wins, it'll be a normal day.
Because of the namesake of the pedigree?
No, just because of the fact that we have to talk about it.
say, I told you.
And this is not.
Is it winning or is it winning by at least 3 touchdowns? Because there's a difference. Right? Did they win or did they blow them out? Because what if it's a win by 3? What if it's
Because here's the thing. That's the point that I think we're trying to make here. If Alabama wins by a field goal, guess what? They'll praise Cincinnati for their loss. But then the sun will come up and we'll continue on with our lives.
No.
So if Michigan gets blown out by 3 touchdowns, what are they going to say?
Yeah, they thought South Florida was number 1 team for a reason all year long. You know, Michigan, once a big team.
And that's my point. So
the narrative is so different.
But that's the point. Great.
is it fair? No. Is it fair? No, not at all. Because Cincinnati has earned their right to be in the sun right now. Here's the thing about the sun. Eventually it goes down. And what we're talking about is possibly Alabama being that move coming. And does Cincinnati deserve that? Absolutely not. They've earned the right to be there. We're not bashing how they play football. We're not bashing the program. That's a good football team, regardless of what uniform they play. Those guys have definitely done it on the field. But my point is, when they are looking across the field and seeing the Crimson Tide, we have to, before they do anything, before they finish buckling up their helmet, we have to say, hey, if, can they, will they?
Will Alabama beat them?
No.
That's what we're talking about.
The 2.5 spread right now.
We're going to get the ranks right. Do you think that number 1, 2, 3, 4 correct? I think
That's a whole, that's what we're going to get into next before we get to the topic. The order of this and the reason why it was ordered. So as our preview, we're going to talk about, okay, should Michigan, since they were number 2 when all the championship weekends went down, they won, they did not move up, they stayed status quo. Michigan, Alabama jumped them by defeating the number 1 team, Georgia Bulldogs. And they kind of beat them in a convincing fashion. Was that the reason? Or was it just to make sure that Georgia didn't play Alabama, turn around and play them again, so that they can have a different matchup in college football?
Let's switch out.
Your question, do you think that was the case, or what do you think?
Don, you're right.
What do you think?
Honestly, look, way I would have ranked it to put Alabama number 1, Georgia 2, Michigan 3, and Cincinnati 4. Mm-hmm. Either way to go, what that does is alleviate the argument of that question. And yes, they kind of can you see a little hand in the cookie jar here? Absolutely. And will they ever admit that? Hell no. But at the end of the day, I think the game sets got it right. The ranking possibly could have.
So would you have played? You would not have let Georgia play Alabama, turn around and play again in the bowl game. Precedent has happened before.
I would have taken Georgia out.
But not make
I would not have put Georgia in. I would say Alabama, Michigan, Cincinnati, and if Oklahoma State could just hold their water for 15 minutes. But we're not there. We're not there. Yeah, you know, it's a different game.
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely. Georgia does not go through it.
Who do you think right now?
How did Georgia beat that actually that?
Well, who do you think Notre Dame needs? That's what I'm saying. Who do you think right now, just without nobody's playing anymore right now? Who's the better team? Georgia or Notre Dame, in your opinion?
Right now, if my team doesn't get back,
No,
that's
they
not
have.
that's not right.
No, but they've already.
Okay, I'll do it. But I'm saying that, yes, but it's a little bit different when you have a coach that has, a little bit longer longevity with the team. It's team to team, right?
Okay.
I will say that
Maybe that's
my
that
perfect.
might be one of the reasons they didn't make it.
I think that's actually something to talk about. That's actually one of the criteria. Is coach choose president, right? I'll say this: my perfect world, I would love to see Oregon pull it out if they were to survive long enough to not get doubled down by Utah. I would love to see Pitt survive a little bit longer, or I would like to see Michigan State be a better team this year.
Not lose one more game.
And there's a lot that comes to it. Because Kenneth Walker, I think, did a great job. Big Heisman snub right there.
Who's that?
The running back.
Kenneth Walker. Yeah. No, we're gonna jump into that.
I think Georgia does not get passed just because they're Georgia. So Alabama might get a pass, But what does Georgia do? How many championships Georgia will receive? Georgia doesn't get a pass because
I don't think they won a championship in you guys' lifetime unless you for 1980. Okay. So with that being said, Jimmy, I want to go start with you first. Give me your bowl championship game predictions for the playoffs. Your two games. First, your Georgia versus Michigan matchup. Who you got?
Oh, Georgia versus Michigan. Listen, I don't like giving anybody with the last name Harbaugh more than 1 week to prepare. It's not fair. I don't know who thought that was okay to do. It's cheating in my book. It's cheating in my book. But if you give a Harbaugh, father, brothers, grandchildren unborn, if you give them more than a week, it's time to prepare for someone. Master catastrophe happens on the field. And listen, the way that he has coached this Michigan team this year is nothing but outstanding. Literally, if the coach from Cincinnati did not win head coach of the year, I would have given it to Harbaugh. And that's just a personal statement right there. Now, agreed that he's playing a great Georgia, pissed off Georgia team who feels that they should have played better in the SEC championship. He's going to have a hard time. But again, Kirby Smart is not just a knock him off the wood type of coach. He's a great coach. And that's not any degradation to him or what he's done this year with this Georgia team. But with that being said, to Nick's point, who has Georgia played so far other than Alabama then that can hold their own on the field? Now you get to see him play someone who looks like you, plays like you, throws the ball like you, and plays defense like you. With that being said, and all of those things on the table, and we're playing chess, not checkers, I would give it to Harbaugh. Because Harbaugh might have that smaller edge to get the job done over Kirby Smart.
I buy all of that except when you talk about Michigan, talk about Harbaugh, you talk about the fact that if he doesn't beat Ohio State this year, you know what we're talking about? If he doesn't beat Ohio State this year, that's what it is. That's what the stock show is, right? If he doesn't beat Ohio State, the Blue Sport team, I don't think that he has a job if he can't compete and win those big games.
I agree. We don't do that well right now.
So he doesn't pass his norm.
No.
If he doesn't pass his norm. If he doesn't pass his norm.
But that's lost his brother.
I still think that's the hard.
But that's my point.
We took a hard one. We talk about you get the time to prepare. Yeah, he's had how many years to prepare for Ohio State and he came out this year?
Okay, but that's my point. This year he did it. We don't live in a world where if he lost to Ohio State, they beat him. And we don't live in a world.
Yeah, so we're congratulating 1-5. Yeah. But that's in baseball.
But you made this statement earlier. One of the best coaches say, what have they done for me lately? Lately, he's beat Ohio State. Lately, he's earned a spot in the college football playoffs.
He's a big one too.
And now he sits at the table
facing those
facing Kirby Smart on the other end.
You want some context? Who did Michigan play last year in the bowl game? Or 2 years ago?
Who did they play?
They played Alabama.
Correct.
In the Citrus Bowl.
Correct.
And what happened to them?
They lost.
And so does that beat Alabama? No, Michigan did not beat Alabama.
Oh, no, Michigan.
Michigan. So my point is, they had a taste of the SEC team, right? Nick Saban went in there, annoyed that he was even in Orlando, and left, got the trophy, called the bowl game by the wrong name, and beat the Sixers, and then called it in. So it's like, at what point do you go, okay, Michigan's, give all this, hope. Where's that hope for Cincinnati? Jesus, Michigan's been the same amount of college football players Cincinnati has.
But listen, that's my point. I don't, as an analyst, I always look at it now. Now, Michigan has a good team. Now, Michigan has the golden pants.
Listen.
They have the golden pendants that say they beat the team.
Yeah, they got a Heisman Trophy finalist in it.
Now, right, guess what? Listen, when you're playing basketball at the park, you don't pick losers. You pick all the good guys that you know who you brought to the park, came to the park with. They got all of those guys in right now. So no, I can't play.
Did they have all those guys in when Kenneth Walker III had 5 touchdowns on and had a tremendous college football record-breaking season? No. So we're gonna overlook that because come on, it's a fluke.
But guess what? Miracles on 34th.
Oh my God! It's Christmas. I guess what? Scrooge is here, and I'm telling you, Michigan does not get a pass. They get attention for the past 3 years.
Listen,
I think Michigan is like one bad flu season away from being Scott Frost, Nebraska, right? And it's what it is. Oh, rubbers, blah blah.
I get that, but
I'll have the Nebraska AD call me and we'll talk if you guys want to talk about Hayden Martinez and your inability to perform, right? Winning matters.
He's transferring, by the way.
And then
yep,
He's in the portal. Speaking of, now he gave us what is your official pick?
solid.
Michigan.
Okay, your official pick for the Michigan Georgia football
I think Georgia wins. The pissed off Georgia team's gonna win.
game. Okay. All right, let's go on to your favorite game. I know it is because we've been talking since.
It's like Christmas.
It's Cincinnati. So I'm going to give you the first gun. Are you picking Alabama or Cincinnati? And this is the Orange Bowl. They're playing in the Cotton Bowl.
I'm looking at this Alabama football team as a prime example of what looks like based off of it. Talk about namesake a lot. Nick Saban will go down in college football history as the greatest football mind out of all time. To that end, you look at what he's done, who's competed against him, right? And his old coaches and the products he's produced, right? It's consistent, it's effective, it's efficient, it's down the board, right? Everything you can want from a program, right? They're the more tougher team, they're the most fundamentally sound team, and they're the most talented football team. Alabama football is going to go out there and they're going to perform at a level on their, worst day that everyone else would beg for. Alabama football team with Bryce Young at where he is right now, being tremendous. It's going to be tough from just a non-biased standpoint for Cincinnati, right, to win. But I think that, that Cincinnati football team is coming off of that Cinderella story. They have so much more to prove, right, to where I'm not going to say, oh, Alabama's overlooking this. They're not looking at this. They don't care about the trap game. No, Nick Saban went in there and it said, here's what we're playing. Do not look at them left or right. Don't knock them. They're a tremendous football program. And we're going to take them equally seriously because they're here for a reason. But if you want a final definitive call, Alabama versus Cincinnati, I think that it's going to be when I'm on Twitter and I see upset alert come up. And everyone's like, oh my God, Alabama's down 2 scores to Cincinnati. Halftime's going to happen. Nick Saban's going to have a conversation with Jesus Christ himself, and they're going to come out, and Cincinnati is going to have a great recruiting shift for the next few years. But non-biased, I think Alabama beats Cincinnati. Nick Saban walks off of that field quiet as he prepares to go do SEC 2, and half the people don't watch that game.
No!
I don't think that we're going to watch a game if it's going to be Alabama, Georgia 2, electric blue. Nobody cares. Nobody's going to want to see the same result.
Okay.
So I watched this movie the other day called Glory, right?
It was
good.
my Lord,
Yeah.
Lord.
Denzel Washington, a couple of good guys. Had himself some
Matthew Broderick, great performance, by the way.
Right, you know what I'm saying? Had some great battles, always good. They kept it going, and they proved that they belonged, that the colored men belong in Continental Army. But the ending of the movie was them charging into a Confederate base, and all of them ended up dead. Now, Cincinnati's not dying anytime soon, not wishing that on their fan base or their team. But Cincinnati has had a great season. They played great football. They showed you what, if you play the correct way in the American Conference, what you can do. Here's the thing. They're getting ready to charge into that Confederate base.
Pun intended?
No pun intended. But they're getting ready to charge into what is probably the most prolific program in college football. And I won't make the statement that Nick Saban will go down as one of the biggest minds. I don't disagree to a certain extent, but I will say that Alabama, its program over the last 15 to 20 years, will probably go down as one of the best or if anything, the blueprint of how you should do it.
It was Nick Saban. Before that, he left the Dolphins, and Alabama were just.
Exactly.
We got Alabama.
No, I'm not going to
Alabama.
My point in this is.
You can't let me have anything.
Just saying because Alabama plays football light years, it seems, above everyone else. And every now and then, their number gets pulled. It's just Nick Saban even said it himself. Sometimes they get you. But again, Nick Saban gets a couple of weeks here to prepare for this Cincinnati team. That's another coach you don't give time to. And this is not, again, not any shots fired at this Bearcat program. They deserve to be here. They earned their way here. But they don't have enough guns to shoot down this brick wall. And they don't have enough firepower to put a dent into this armor. And I can use every metaphor about fighting.
They could call them
From Greek all the way down to now. You know what I mean? But Alabama is what Alabama says they are. And they will, and I don't see them letting Cincinnati off.
You know that saying, act like you've been there before? Oh, Alabama's.
They've been there. They've more than been there.
So your
They
prediction,
live there.
your prediction is
Alabama.
okay. So you got 2 Alabamas and 2 Georgias. So
You got Michigan.
you got Michigan.
I got
We got Michigan and Georgia. So then somebody's going to win out there. So I'm going to give you my prediction. Without all that, it's another drum roll, please. I believe that it's going to be a rematch of the SEC, and it's going to be a Georgia versus Alabama game. I'm hoping Michigan is able to pull it off because I do not want to see a rematch. But I think the depth on this game is going to show its ugly head. It's going to show why the SEC, because of those big recruiting classes and those top 5, not that these 2 teams, Michigan and Cincinnati, don't.
No,
I think the depth is going to be the reason, and with all this time to get and all the different trick plays, the depth is going to come into, and that's why I think you'll have a rematch. All right, we're running low on time. I got our producer give us a message. So I want to jump. We're gonna skip our ball proof, and we'll come back and do a little bit of that. Maybe we'll do a review. So let's get into what we're all here for: the greatest game known to man in college football. I don't care who says that.
Greatest rivalry in sports.
Greatest rivalry in sports. You can tell Alabama, Auburn, Florida State. All of it doesn't mean nothing. Not only to us, but to the country, where we have the most alumni any college. These 2 institutions, Navy and Army, have more alumni that never even went to the school but served for those institutions. So we have the most alumni. We're the 2 biggest institutions in the country. So this is the biggest game, Army, Navy, or Navy, Army, however you want to do it.
No, yeah,
I always call it I just call it alphabetically Army, Navy.
That's got it.
And you have the, when you say go to war, these 2 institutions know what it means more than any other institutions out there. So they actually do go to war. So, and what makes this rivalry so great, it's a vicious rivalry, but it's also a respectful rivalry.
It's one of those where you understand, and we get told this a lot coming into that program, and developing that program. It's everybody on that field is going to affect everybody who's watching. Right? And at the end of the day, there is a mutual respect, shared understanding, and that camaraderie between Army and Navy. But for 60 minutes on that field, it doesn't exist. It is, the lash of the heart, right? It's truthfully like where you look, if you want to see what the armed forces is all about, when you watch for 60 minutes as those men cut block each other, tackle, sacrifice their bodies for the men to the left and right, right? You don't need a motivating speech to come out here, anybody to come in there and draw them up. It's for that brotherhood. It's for the person who's literally to your left and right, who you come up with, and this is it, right? You go into those halls, you just walk into West Point, and everything around you says beat Navy. How many things around my house says beat Navy? Everything we beat into you is beat Navy, right? There is nothing more that you can go. You want to talk about like pedigree and winning? You can go 11-0, and then you go 11-1 because you lost to Navy. It's a losing season. Period. Navy can go 1-12 or 1-11, and guess what? It's their winning season.
You know what I've never seen out of Army and Navy? I've been trying to Google it for like the past 20 minutes. Is a fight.
Never.
Yeah,
They fight between.
and don't get me wrong, like I'm not wishing that, but you know, when you see rivalry games, when you see Florida State, Florida, you know, there's gonna be some little chipping going on. You know, when you see a Michigan Ohio State game, right, you know what I mean? Ugh. You don't see that versus Army versus Navy, and like you said, it's different. Now I grew up in a Navy household. I didn't go to the military to save my own life because I don't want to do that. But you know, I have a nephew went to the Army. My father was a Navy vet. Before his father was a Navy vet. His father probably built a ship that was a Navy vet. And it goes on and on. And then my stepfather, he's a Navy vet. So literally right now in my house, you can walk in and you'll see everything that says go Navy, beat Army.
That's a correct line.
And so I would probably go home to that this weekend to eat their food and enjoy the game. But it's like Nick said, it's one of those games where literally everyone on the field fights for everyone watching. And that doesn't get lost in the midst of everything. And this game has moved around in the last few years due to the climate that the world has been in. But the meaning of the game, the gravity of the game, and what gets left on the field has yet to change. And that's the beauty of this game.
Most of these athletes, you know, they're not going to have a chance to move to the next level, right? With all of these service members or all of these cadets and midshipmen have already been told what they're going to be doing following football. So their focus for Army, once they beat Navy, their focus is going to be, you know, the bowl game versus Mizzou. Following that, it's get your mind ready, right? You're going to commission as an officer in the United States Army, right? And the Navy midshipmen, as they go home and they lick their wounds and think about, you know, the length of time of when those like Malcolm Perry's quarterback and when Keegan Reynolds mattered. You know, everybody can reminisce when they were relevant. They're gonna say, hey, it's our time. We're gonna be, you know, midshipmen, and then they're gonna go off and become ensigns in the Navy.
And raise their kids to come up and be Navy beyond.
That's exactly right. Everybody's gonna do themselves. But it's not, I don't have to I just know what Army is. I'm looking at Army right now this year. Let's say you can really break it down, right? Past tradition, you know, past the legacy, you know, 3 Heisman Trophy wins that we have, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You look at an 8-3 Army football program that lost to a very, very good Wisconsin football team that they very well could have won. Lost to a Wake Forest team, right? That again could have gone any other way, and then got upset severely at Ball State and was never able to recover from an early lead coming off of a kickoff return for a touchdown. Army, though, coming off of 8 wins, a win against Air Force, right, and doing what Army does best, running the football, beating the tougher team, a more fundamentally sound team, right, and execute. That's what's going to be the difference on Friday, or Saturday at 3:30. It's going to show you, right, that they're going to have cut block well, they're going to execute well, they're going to be the most disciplined team, they're not going to get foolish penalties, they're going to win on 3rd down, and they have established a quarterback at Army, right, with Coach Worley, who is phenomenal, came in, you know, for about 2 years, 3 years that he's been in that seat, right, and Army has depth. We talk about depth at quarterback. Any one of the guys that they have, right? You got Tyler, who's a phenomenal rounder. Jabari Law is coming off 2 ACL tears. They're doing great. Chris Anderson, who's a prolific passer and rusher, right? All great football minds. Right? Jamel Jones making it. So Navy has not found itself as quarterback. Navy had to fire its OC and then brought him back as the QB's coach. And they got their own issues going on. But you look at it at the end of the day, I think that pageantry aside, rivalry aside, you know, it always comes down to the wire. I think that Army has a little bit more, something tangible, something fierce and depth, especially on defense, right, with Coach Nate Woody, who's done a great job at being a defensive efficient mind. Army is a more complete product. If you take away that rivalry aspect, I think Army wins this game. I think Army wins this game by 14 points.
Yeah, I would normally, I agree with you that normally I would say it would be that I think I think this will be Navy's bowl game. So I will say it, and I hate saying it, but I think Navy will not win, but they'll kind of keep it within 7 points.
As it should. Make it a game.
Yeah, it's gonna be entertainment as opposed to people. Before we get into that, I want to talk to just one of the new traditions. Every year, it seems like now, Nike and look at Nike does both.
Yeah, Nike does, and Army and Under Armour does.
They come out with some fantastic, like this one, and they do great designs. Tell me about this.
So that one there was the 2017 campaign Army Navy, where we played in the Blizzard out in Philadelphia, and it represented the Panic Commandos in 10-pound division. So a historic unit, present unit, but they were commemorating a World War unit that was in 1943-44 that operated in the Alps, right? As you can see in the front there, you have the skis. So they consider themselves the Pando Commandos, right? So they're operating in that Arctic climate. And every year, Army does something to honor those different units. Those different units, the units of past that still have this story and strong structure, right? The present unit carries this day with pride, honor. This year, they're commemorating the Special Forces into the surge into Afghanistan, right? So they're talking about that initial surge. You see their DBU format, right? The desert camo pattern, and I don't have all the information on that for this year, but I think yes. But Nick Detterman and our football staff and the Army Center for Oral History have done a phenomenal job again at beating Navy off the field and winning the uniform battle. It looks great.
I don't know. When Navy was in rocket, I don't know. Those helmets that Navy has are just
Fly Navy or fly.
with this one, we don't have to rock. We can revel in each other's uniforms because I'm gonna be honest, as a Navy guy, I love both uniforms. And what's great about this lately, Oregon has nothing. What they do on the Army Navy games, and so kudos to Under Armour, kudos to Nike for kind of doing some of the best work on a yearly basis for our military. The biggest game at the end of the year that says we've had another great season. We're going to close it down now with the greatest rivalry in college football. And I think I mean the games. And you know what? What's the crazy thing as we wrap up? This game does not seem to take 5 minutes. It seems like it's still a 3.5-hour game, even though they're running all over the place. And the big plays, I think the big play once again, gentlemen, is going to be the key. I think, and I think Army's going to get more big plays, and the turnovers.
Yes.
And I like to take everybody, while they're going to be commemorating the 9/11 20-year anniversary with not just with the uniforms, but playing in the Meadowlands. So guys, please tune and watch into this game. It's for a great cause. If you love college football and you don't love this game, I question whether you love college football because this is the game. And don't be worrying about whether they're running the spread option or what they're doing like this. Understand that these guys give their life for you, and they're playing each other with everything that they have, and then they'll go lay down their lives for each other real. So guys, honor our country by watching this game every year. And once again, kudos to both service academies. I would say, like you said, go Navy beat Army. I know you're gonna say, "Oh, go Army beat Navy," but guys, we want to tell you, please watch this every year. Watch this. There's so many more alumni that you guys think of. It's not just the people who sit in those stands and winter those halls. It's the people who serve on the protection on a daily basis that watch this game, and we all sit no matter where we're at, no matter on the planet, whether we're active duty, whether we're retired, whether we're discharged, we are watching this game and we're celebrating like we have no other thing else to do in the world that day. And we're going to say whoever we're rooting for, you know what I mean? And with that being said, I'd like to thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Grant. I want to thank our producer, Granville Movie Father, illustrious co-host, Andre L. Sullivan, and my other great co-host, Nick Schrage. Thank you guys for everything. If you like this content, please hit the like button. Once again, do the subscribe button. Also, last thing I'll say, our sponsors, Team Sportswear Direct, Watch Getting Them, all those ladies and gentlemen and ladies of the Women's Tackle Football League. And until we get through this again, have a great day. God bless. Go Navy, beat Army. Go Army, beat Navy. And we'll see you on the next episode. Damn, Andre. Next episode of the Terry McGriff Show. Y'all be blessed.